This is Pixar's terrible Finding Dory movie. It's no secret that at least before Inside Out 2, Pixar sequels just were not it. With the exception of the likes of Toy Story sequels and a little part of maybe Monsters University, generally, at this era of Pixar, it was just not quite capturing the magic of the classics. Even Incredibles 2, great in a bubble, terrible when you compare it to the original. And I think Finding Dory lands exactly in that same kind of territory, where maybe these movies are inoffensive, mid-tier family fun on their own, but the thing is, they have to follow up to some absolute masterpieces. And the same rings true with Finding Dory. In concept, moving the focus away to another character can work great for a sequel, when you have a world that could be explored further. But the central arc of the first movie has been resolved. In the case of Nemo and Marlin, that certainly applies. However, I'd wager that this movie suffers from what else can happen. That being over-explaining a comedy side character from the first movie, whilst the main characters from that initial movie just hang around without any of their depth from the first one intact. Let alone the true colors of this movie's star coming out in a big scandal later on, making this movie all the more annoying to watch back on in rewatch. That being said, for a movie that doesn't seem to get talked about a lot now, it was a massive hit at a time. This is a $1 billion movie. So business-wise, you can see why this movie exists. But was it enough on the creative front? Well, we begin in a similar way to Monsters University, having the baby version of the main characters kick things off.
Okay, Daddy.
If you want to simultaneously have a bit of backstory for thematic context whilst also hard launching the need for merchandise, there's no better. Just stick big eyes on a small version of a recognized character design and yay, cute baby. And yes, this is also the point to appreciate that Pixar managed to give a fish a receding hairline. Very impressive, gotta give it to them there. And as we go into the titles, there is a sense of mystery as we don't see how Dory got lost, just after that scene with her parents.
And we know you'll never forget us.
And from there, her origin's pretty brutal. She grows up lost, forgetting every few minutes about any progress she's made, until eventually she forgets she was even looking for her parents.
Well, I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for.
Immediately, this takes what was often played for laughs in the first movie into this tragic backstory, which takes us right up to her entry point in the first movie.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat.
You have?
So in case you were wondering where the hell her life was before this point, there you go, all wrapped up. It's actually kind of depressing. We then cut to a year later where Nemo is somehow still a child, even though I'm pretty sure that's not how fish biology works. The average clownfish only lives for 6 to 10 years, so take from that what you will, though to be fair, Marlin's meant to be the mum anyway, due to biology. Clownfish, when the female disappears, has the main male become the female for future partners. Anyway, moving on, we spend the next few couple minutes recounting the first movie's events. Classic sequel stuff.
Which one of us traveled across the entire ocean?
Nemo did.
In fact, it's a full-on, all of your favorite characters are briefly back kind of scene.
Well, you made it.
Only this time, Mr. Ray has to contend with Dory joining in so she can be faced directly with her character arc.
Where'd you grow up, Dory? Me?
With the subsequent field trip being either Dory interrupting Mr. Ray every opportunity she can, or her showing up because she's remembered another detail of her backstory. However, a big highlight of this scene is the migration of the Rays. Visually, it is incredible, and if you didn't look closely at the cartoon eyes, it could probably pass for some actual nature footage. Then you add in the male voice choir going on, which makes perfect sense with Mr. Ray's established character traits.
Pineapple under the sea.
And it's just an all-round great concept. There are some genuinely good ideas peppered into this movie. It's kind of like having a bunch of great side gags and ideas sewn together by a wider narrative that doesn't quite work. For me, anyway. It's here that Dory gets her trauma spike backstory flashback.
The Jewel of Morro Bay, California.
The Jewel of Morro Bay, California?
Lucky that she took in the name of the place while she was a kid. This time, the fish are going to America, the other way around the world. And that's a pretty hefty trip for these little fish, considering they live in the Great Barrier Reef, which is by, you know, Australia, which is why they went to Australia in the first movie. I mean, as we saw, Dory grew up on her journey from A to B. It took so long. But as far as the crossing the entire Pacific Ocean in 2 minutes of screen time goes, they have a pretty good callback to throw in.
But I know it.
It's a weirdly Marvel-ish kind of reintroduction of the characters, but whatever. Followed by a pretty forced dumb joke.
Totally sick!
Isn't it great?
No! I'm gonna be totally sick!
Very down with the kids, Pixar. And once they've arrived, already, it's time for 2 minutes of Ellen DeGeneres saying the words mum and dad at an increasingly high volume. Plug your ears.
Mom! Dad!
Oh boy. And of course, her loudly shouting is what gets them in trouble with this movie's go at upping the sharks in the first movie. You gotta just bump up the stakes every time. This time being a giant squid, which makes sense as they haven't done one of those yet, and we're about to spend the next hour in an aquarium.
Swim for your life!
And the chase weaving through the sunken cargo ship, yeah, it's a great action sequence. The squid relentlessly weaving through that environment, even knocking a few shipping containers through its strength. We also get a little bit of some peril for Nemo, because we needed at least a little bit of that in this movie. Because yes, this is gonna be the obvious red flag of this movie, because with Dory taking so much of the focus and runtime, we don't get a great deal of story from Nemo or Marlin's relationship. The Nemo is missing in the Finding Nemo sequel. You know, the very thing that fuels this entire franchise.
Are you okay? What
Not
happened?
now, Dory. Please.
We get a glimpse of that concern from Marlin here, but their relationship is generally sidelined in this one. They're not relevant. Dory may be the main character, but I feel like that arc could have still been played with a bit somehow. In this scene, we at least get that reminder that Marlin's love for Nemo is still there, even in his harsh words for Dory.
Go wait over there and forget. It's what you do best.
Like, you can tell it's at least a fear response over his care for Nemo. And yes, this leads us into a whole second act's worth of what could possibly go wrong. Starting with what I'm pretty sure is the first ever non-Carsified celebrity to be acknowledged in a Pixar movie.
Hello, I'm Sigourney Weaver.
And it kind of feels weird. In my mind, these characters don't exist in these timeless worlds, rather than the more Shrek pop culture reference route. It's a small thing, you know, it doesn't affect the movie overall. It's just something I noticed. You know, it's just... Followed by a quick rehash of the first movie.
Marlin! Nemo!
No, not again! Not again!
Well, there we go. If you weren't buying the philosophical Finding Dory title, you can interpret it literally now as well. You're welcome. I feel like just that concept from the title is what greenlit this entire movie. Had to be the philosophical front to feel smart. It just didn't turn out that way. What a shame. Because yes, our setting for the rest of the movie is revealed as a marine life sanctuary. Forget the genuine exploration of the big blue. We got straight to the ending destination. And now we're gonna be there for ages. And this place is decidedly prison looking from the outside, which won't be the last time I can point to some crossover with Toy Story 3. This is when we meet potentially the highlight character of the movie.
Dory, I'm
Name's Hank.
From its very first reveal, you can just tell the creativity that went into this character design. His ability to blend into every background so quickly may not hold water to an actual octopus, but hey, it's a lot more realistic than what Penguins of Madagascar did with an octopus character the next year. It also speaks to his sneakiness in general, as clearly early on, he's not the most trustworthy octopus out there.
If I just take your tag, I can take your place on the transport truck.
And there's just something about an octopus chilling in a sink with his arm hanging over the side whilst drinking coffee that can't not be funny. There are definitely two highlight side characters to this one. That's Hank and that's the seals.
You interrupted my favourite dream.
Is that the one about you laying on this rock?
Yeah.
Again, it's the individual bits that are great at times. It's like a sketch show through the Finding Nemo universe, which I'd also say the first one had elements of, just with a better story.
Gerald, Gerald, off the rock, Gerald. You know
Meanwhile, Hank endures more of Dory's total recall arc.
Purple shell! Purple shell! Hank, my home had a purple shell!
Before Dory dives into, from her frame of species anyway, a bucket full of dead bodies.
I'm sorry, I gotta blink. How do you hold your eyes open that long?
Pretty dark, played for laughs. Lovely stuff. Leading Dory to our next new character, Destiny, who was apparently Dory's pipe pal back in the day, giving us an origin for her speaking whale. Man, she did quite a lot in her toddler years before she got lost, didn't she? We meet this beluga guy as well, and it's a bit of a fun back and forth, but I've now realized what's missing from this second one. A sense of stakes. Sure, it'll be nice for Dory to reunite with her parents, and they've built an adventure around that, but the times of the essence quest of the first movie is lacking here. This movie is fundamentally a pursuit towards Dory's past, whereas the first was very much an active issue in the present, where they had to get to Nemo before that girl with the braces unalived him. I'm sorry. That was the stakes the first one had, whereas I rarely feel much jeopardy in this one. Even in the case with the giant squid, for whatever reason, that sense of danger from Bruce in the first movie just wasn't there. And I think the aquarium marine sanctuary setting is an interesting place to take a Finding Nemo sequel, but inevitably there are just a lot more static interactions. I'm not getting that adventure and momentum that the first one had, nor any challenge in any of these central relationships. I can see the constant recalling of Marlin's snap before they were separated.
And in the meantime, Dory will just forget us. Like you said, it's what she does best.
Is meant to evoke the fallout between him and Nemo the first time round, but it just doesn't have the same emotional weight. And it's interesting because there is actually an alternative Finding Nemo sequel that Disney Toons made. We made a cancelled episode about it yonks ago. I wouldn't exactly say it's a better movie by any means, but it's different. Ironically, it does have a bit of that sanctuary in it, but also Nemo has a twin in that one, so interesting. Anyway, Dory's not even thinking about that exchange for most of her time away from them, and I hate it when you could just spot those lines thrown in there to make you feel like Marlin did a mean thing to feel bad about. Nonetheless, the guilt trip here works, and Marlin agrees to let this bird fly him and Nemo in via sand bucket, giving us a little alternative to the pelican mouth situation from the first movie, but again, without that sense of peril. Remember how iconic the mine scene was? It's an entertaining enough way to get them in there, though.
Why do I keep getting talked into insane choices?
Hey there, you made it to the halfway mark of this video. You know what to do. Come along and subscribe if you're interested in more terrible animated movies. Pixar don't make many terrible movies, and this one's kind of teetering more to mid territory. Not that we have a mid series, but even still, there's some more Pixar ones I haven't covered, so join along if you're interested for more. And back to the second half of the terrible Finding Dory movie.
Why do I keep getting talked into insane choices?
As Hank and Dory sneak around on a pushchair, it's also interesting to see the overlap of what could be a Toy Story set piece or a Finding Nemo set piece. They have a few small characters sneaking around human premises going on, huh? And a pretty smooth bit of storytelling here, as Hank and Dory's actions have causality to Marlin and Nemo's journey. That's like some of the things this movie could have leaned on more. And seeing as we're on Toy Story crossover appeal here, this scene feels straight out like it's from the Sunnyside Daycare playbook.
Hands!
And feels just as on the money. I'd say this might be the best individual concept this movie throws out there. Turning this recognizable situation you see in a lot of aquariums on its head and making it suitably horrific.
They're in my space!
Making the hands descending to the ground with bomb sound effects is a particular highlight. It's just interesting to think how this perspective might be just how director Andrew Stanton, who has worked on all of the Toy Story movies and is directing the fifth one, we'll see how well that one goes, naturally sort of writes from. Time for another Total Recall moment for Dory.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Ah!
Yes, we're just going to be finding an explanation for anything Dory said or did in the first movie. There is definitely something potentially cute about giving all this stuff an explanation, but also makes it feel kind of forced in some ways as well, because this is technically a retcon, you know? I doubt Dory's backstory was written before the first movie, so they're kind of just cramming these ideas in there. I don't think it always works perfectly. However, at the end of the sequence, we get reminded once more just how good at animation Pixar is.
Welcome to the open ocean.
The reveal of the giant fish enclosure is just incredible and must have taken so long to put together. It's such a brief shot, though hopefully they were able to reuse the animation once she's actually inside the enclosure. Meanwhile, Marlin and Nemo continue to attempt an emotional arc.
I miss Dory.
Me too.
With Nemo annoyed at Marlin for not trusting Dory, despite the fact Dory nearly got them killed earlier. Can't really debate it, she wouldn't shut up and they nearly got eaten by squid. But sure, we need to have another movie of Marlin being wrong about everything, so Dory can be the hero.
What would Dory do?
What would Dory do?
And yeah, their plan from here is that they'll find Dory if they don't think about anything properly and just do stupid stuff until they find her. I think Pixar struggles to write stupid main characters. It's the same thing with Mater being the protagonist in Cars 2. It just, I don't know, it feels naff when they try and make plots around it. This idea shouldn't work, but they are bound by the narrative of this movie, so it does.
Hey! It's working!
Which leads them to another of the movie's better concepts, a clown with mouth motions like a puppet.
But scallops have eyes, and she was looking for something different.
I'll say it again, it's a solid sketch show. Like, there's some really good comedy set pieces throughout this. Anyway, time for Dory and Hank to have an emotional moment after knowing each other for like 10 minutes.
I'll have a hard time forgetting you, though.
And it's time to drop Dory into the tank, introducing another neat Pixar idea, characterizing this busy aquarium as a New York street, with the same level of manners too.
Hi, hello, have you seen a mom and a dad without me?
Until she finds the shells, which are just as she left them. Now, I'm sure the shells may well have been left how they were, but it does make me wonder what kind of time frame we're working with here. Particularly with Nemo still being a similar size after a year. Was this like 10 years ago in this universe? I don't know. We then get a flashback taking us back to the faithful moment she gets lost. And of course, it happens in a moment of the parents panicking about will she make it on her own, whilst leaving their child of concern on her own. And you'll never guess what happens. Hate it when that happens. As do I when Ellen DeGeneres has the floor to talk to herself for 2 minutes.
Where am I going? I can't remember. Okay, I'm lost. It's too hard. I can't remember. I'm forgetting everything. I'm gonna be... Hi, pals! Hi, pals!
Following this panic monologue, she works out she can consult her pipe pals to help her. Beluga Guy regaining his echolocation so we can make a little bit of a Mission Impossible situation out of this. Another creative idea.
What is it?
I can't tell, but it's coming for her.
Leading us to the reunion with Nemo and Marlin.
Dory!
Marlin?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, hey, I guess you couldn't have it go exactly the same way as the original. Maybe this movie didn't need the stakes of the original, but again, I just feel a distinct lack of momentum and urgency. We now know where Dora's parents theoretically are. Cool. And they give an attempt to add some emotion in there.
Do you think my parents will want to see me?
A sentiment we see in a lot of movies, though usually from characters who have a difficult relationship at home, which, from the audience perspective anyway, doesn't line up with what we've seen from them. So this moment just doesn't hit in the same way as if that jeopardy had actually been there. And Marlin's way to bring her back around is recounting the first movie again.
Outsmarting sharks and jumping jellyfish and finding my son. You made all that happen.
And they just keep adding beats to try and make this more emotional. Like this sudden revelation that finding her parents automatically means she's leaving.
Does this mean we have to say goodbye?
Yes, Nemo. We do.
So that's now part of the bargain as well. Have you chatted this one over with her? If anything, the one real question that should be floating around this situation is, are they even still alive after all this time?
They're dead?
There we go. The sequence of Dory processing this as everything goes wrong is very well executed. Finally, something.
Dory, are you alright?
Okay.
You really get that air of everything suddenly spiraling out of control. From a great moment to a convenient one now, after filling more time with Ellen repeating the same sentence.
What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Dory just finds them.
It's you! It's really you!
And convenient as it is, parents going to extraordinary lengths for their kids is something emblematic of the whole franchise.
We believed one day you'd find us again.
But yeah, I still think it was a pretty extreme belief there. That baby blue tang with a short-term memory should have been dead within days. But still, that didn't happen. And so, reunited with her family, Dory forgets they were ever apart, and we never found out exactly what happened to...
Oh, I haven't been all by myself.
It was at this moment that she knew. She f***ed up.
Marlin and Nemo!
Just kidding! It's time for the semi-reverse of the first movie's climax, seeing as that involved a fishing boat, and this time it's a facility that cares for fish. And this may just be one of the nuttiest Pixar climaxes I've ever seen. I thought similar of Toy Story 4 until I remembered this one existed. We kick off with bombastic yet acceptable whales jumping out of the enclosure and into the sea. Okay, yeah, I'll buy it. Then we have some otters volunteering to stop traffic, open the back of a truck, somehow, before the octopus hijacks the truck and proceeds to drive it. Also factoring in the pauses to reunite Nemo and Marlin, the bird to separate them again, Nemo and Marlin saying hi to the parents.
Marlin?
Jenny?
Nemo?
Charlie?
Donkey!
But mainly, the octopus is driving a truck. Once again, this is Toy Story energy, specifically Toy Story 2 energy. Cue lame line from the drivers.
We are so fired!
Well done, dialogue. Again though, I can't say that this has the same emotional weight as the net of fishes working together thanks to Nemo and resolving the story-wide overprotectiveness of Marlin. But you do just have to appreciate the sheer bombacity of it. I don't know what thematically or other depths this could mean, but hey, it's a fun sequence. I can't emphasize this enough. You have an octopus driving a truck and then using the flight direction of some gulls to dive it into the sea. And I have to admit, The shot of the slow-mo truck diving into the water is also pretty spectacular.
What lies before you represents the third and final part of the marine life mission.
And to the resolution where everyone's now part of the gang.
But until he does, I'm your substitute teacher.
Get all those final gags and hits in there before the end of the movie, including Dory's parents, hanging around for the see you after school moment despite not actually dropping Dory off. You know, they're just sort of there, and then they just sort of leave, okay?
Nice day for a swim, huh?
And I guess they just needed to be in the scene to acknowledge their existence, seeing as this whole movie was about finding them, wasn't it? But other than a repeat of a flashback, that's the last time we see them. It's sort of a, we're here too now, cool, alright, bye-bye. But instead, they leave so we can have the final scene with Marlin and Dory. They are the Buzz and Woody of this joint after all. Just the two of them by the drop-off.
So beautiful out here.
Yeah, it's just me, you, and the moon.
Hey, you two should kiss.
Do you remember the last line of this movie? No, you wouldn't, because it ends on a bit of a get it line. Odd choice.
It really is quite a view.
Yep.
Unforgettable.
Get it?
And that's the end of the movie. Now, honestly, you could get a lot worse than this movie. I mean, it has some genuinely good bits in there. There's some really great comedy writing at times, and these set pieces open up to such a sense of imagination and creativity that the Finding Nemo universe still clearly has to explore. However, in its overall structure, you can tell it's just an add-on to the original. The most Disney sequel out of all the Pixar sequels, really. It was a decent go at the one premise I think they could have gone for that doesn't outright repeat the original, though a lot of the same beats of that original were still hit, so I don't think it's entirely innocent on that front either. It's just sort of fine, and I just don't think that's quite enough for a sequel to Finding Nemo, an all-time classic that managed to seamlessly juggle two narratives at once that illustrated the bond between a father and son while they spent most of the movie apart. I just don't invest in Dory's journey in the same way as the story of the original movie. And this recording session has only been half the time it usually is, because there's just not enough meat in this movie, even though they're fish. There was something so unique about the original Finding Nemo, and it was always going to be really hard to recapture that. But there's a reason this movie gets kind of forgotten in the list of Pixar's filmography. It might be fine in a bubble, but you would be hard-pressed to call this amazing. So by our, unfortunately, binary title sequence, this has to be Pixar's terrible Finding Dory. Ironic, for a movie that spends so much of its time set in an aquarium, I guess it makes sense that the narrative turned out so artificial and shallow compared to the real thing in the big blue. Or something metaphorical like that. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this terrible episode. Do tell me your thoughts on Finding Dory. This might be one of those controversial, terrible episodes. I'm sorry. Those were my thoughts. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more. And I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!